Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Eye on the Tigers, your favorite way to keep up with your LSU Fighting Tigers. I am Bryce.
And I'm Reese.
And we come from the Off the Dome Sports Podcast here at the No Network, KNEAUX, the only way to spell it. Thank you for checking out Eye on the Tigers. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at BeinTheKnow, or check out theknow.com for some wonderful network content as well as articles on all Louisiana sports and nationwide. So, as the name implies, Eye on the Tigers, we're going to be talking about the LSU Tigers today. And today we're going to be talking about an LSU defensive overhaul that we've seen since the season ended. Not only did Brian Kelly and Scott Woodward wipe out the defensive job that was already there, but it seems as if he's filled almost every spot that there is to fill coming back in. While the cornerback / defensive back job is still open, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about who we have brought in, and what we think they'll do for the LSU football Fighting Tigers. So let's start off with the most recent hire, a guy who followed somebody we'll talk about later, Kevin Peoples, defensive line coach. Why don't you give us your breakdown on what Kevin Peoples does?
I mean, Kevin Peoples is really like an edge specialist. He was the defensive line coach at Missouri. I wouldn't consider him more of a D-tackle guy. You might even see him coach the jack or outside linebacker position for LSU. He's been in the business for 30 plus years, made multiple coaching stops in the SEC, in Louisiana, elsewhere. I mean, honestly, a veteran coach that will bring culture to your program.
Yeah, and we saw what he did at a Missouri defense who was improved not just slightly, but significantly over the past couple years when he was there. Like you said, has ties to Louisiana, so it's not like he's coming from this place where, nobody at LSU knew who he was and he's just this random name. People around the city of Baton Rouge knew Kevin Peoples, was excited about him coming in, as am I. My favorite point that you said was about the jack linebacker position, because we know that's something that LSU utilizes very heavily, not only in the past, but expected that to continue with a guy we'll talk about later in our new defensive coordinator. Guys like BJ Ojolari come to mind, and in that jack spot who've learned how to make a difference and then go on to the NFL and actually make significant plays. BJ was a great rookie for the Cardinals this year, ended up looking like one of the best defensive rookies this year, even though he wasn't on a great team, still made an impact. So I think Kevin Peoples can bring that to this LSU defense. Moving from the outside of the defensive line more to the inside, talk about Bo Davis. One of the biggest gets, I think, of this entire offseason, not only for LSU, but college football nationwide. Bo Davis coming back to where he played defensive football back in the 90s, played for LSU, was a second-team All-SEC player on the interior defensive line. He's made coaching stops all around the college football landscape as well as in the NFL. Coached for the Detroit Lions for a couple years. Coached at Bama, where he coached guys like Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Ashawn Robinson, who ended up winning Outland trophies and all first team, second team All-Americans. Recently was at the University of Texas, where he had multiple draft picks last season, put together one of the best defensive lines in college football this past season, which got them into the college football playoff. And now here we are with Bo Davis coming back to Baton Rouge, a guy who everybody is excited about.
Yeah, I mean, like, the names are unmatched on the players he's produced. You got like Deron Payne, Quinnen Williams, and he's also an ace recruiter. For some reason, he was the primary recruiter for Jalen Hurts when he first committed to Bama, which is crazy to me. But also Byron Murphy in this year's draft class coming out of Texas. He was Big 12 Defensive Lineman of the Year. It's undeniable that Bo Davis's track record with NFL talent is second to none.
Yeah, and not only we're worried about NFL talent, we're worried about college football producing right now. Coming off of a defense that was one of the worst, if not the worst, in LSU football history, we're looking for immediate impact, and Bo Davis is going to bring that. From what he did at Alabama with those guys, what he did at Texas just recently. Although the recruiting class is low on defensive tackles for LSU right now, Bo Davis is really good at taking 3 to 4 star talent and making them look like 5 stars. So I think he's going to be able to do that with the LSU Fighting Tigers. And then, of course, we have to talk about the man, the myth, the legend, Blake Baker. Very glad to see Blake Baker come back into the purple and gold. Why don't you give us a little spiel about, what he's done in the past and why you think he can recreate that?
I mean, born and raised right up the road in Houston, played linebacker at Tulane and in New Orleans. He's made multiple stops at he was a La Tech defensive coordinator where Joe Sloan was the offensive coordinator on the same staff. Came to LSU before Brian Kelly came in, was the linebackers coach, ultimately didn't get retained because of the head coaching change, and moved on to be the DC at Missouri. Like we said with Kevin Peoples, it's undeniable that Blake Baker and Kevin Peoples changed that Missouri defense. They went from being one of the worst defenses in the SEC to a top 5 defense in the SEC.
I think a big thing that I like about Blake Baker is not only what he brings as a coach, but what he brings as a human. We talked about this on the Off the Dome pod. If you're ready and willing to check out that content, go for it. It's on YouTube as well, Off the Dome Sports Podcast. You'll see our two beautiful faces on there. But Yeah, Blake Baker's a great person. I mean, the second he got hired, recruits who have never even met him were excited. People on the team right now were excited. People who were on the team when he was here were excited. People from Missouri have nothing but nice things to say about him. The head coach, Eli Drinkwitz, like the second Blake Baker announced he was leaving, he was like, "This is my brother for life. I don't care where we are. We are bonded forever." So to see a coach come into a program that has had problems with coaching in the past, where it's like players don't like the coaches, fans are getting so mad at guys who are just coming in here trying to do their job, for them to come in and have Blake Baker to step up into that role and bring not only a high acumen on the field, but a high acumen off the field as well, I think is going to be really, really big for our team.
Yeah, and I mean, so your defense coordinator always has to coach a position group. We know that he can coach inside linebackers. He did it at LSU before, and he also coached safeties at Missouri, so he can do either one. From the Kevin Peoples and Bo Davis signings, it seems like he's leaning more towards the safeties role again this season. Honestly, put the head of your defense in one of the DB positions, because we need some help.
Yeah, DB is the biggest question mark right now, and that's kind of the last thing we wanted to talk about is, what's upcoming for that DB. We have our defensive line set, we have our defensive coordinator set. We know Blake Baker can coach linebackers if he needs to, but what's going to happen in that secondary? Is Blake Baker going to take safeties? Are we going to have a cornerbacks coach come in, a guy like Corey Raymond, who a lot of people are connecting back to Baton Rouge? He was here for forever, coached literally endless names of NFL talent, from Patrick Peterson to Morris Claiborne, Tyrann Mathieu, Derek Stingley, Tre'Davious White. I mean, the list goes on and on of guys who he's influenced and coached. Here in the purple and gold, and he always could come back. So what do you think it looks like as far as us getting a new coach on this in the secondary, and how do you see that playing out going into next season?
Yeah, I mean, Corey Raymond is definitely the fan favorite. Everybody loves Corey. I mean, he bleeds purple and gold, that's for sure. Even though he coached at Florida last year, I'm sure that we will gladly take a job if it's offered to him. But there's some other guys out there, some former NFL players, and TJ Rushing, who's at Texas A&M, and we know they're going through a coaching change. There's Pastor Tan Senior, who is from New Orleans. Maybe you want to tie back to Louisiana. He's at Florida State currently. Both of those guys are making less than $500,000, so maybe you can poach them away with just some money. But my personal favorite is Carl Scott. He's the defensive backs coach for the Seattle Seahawks right now. We know that he's great with young talent. He's produced 2 Pro Bowlers in both of the last seasons. Last year with Woolen, and
This year with Witherspoon.
But also Julian Love this year.
Yep.
And another guy last year or two. I can't remember his name. With a guy like him, it's inevitable that he can produce NFL talent. He did it at Alabama. He's an ace recruiter as well. He's coached people. You name an Alabama DB in the last 6 years,
He's had some hand in that for sure.
he's recruited them and coached.
Yeah. As much as we hate Alabama here in the Bayou, we have to recognize that they are one of the greatest college football dynasties of all time, and they produce NFL talent like any other place. So to have the idea that somebody like that could even come into the program after a year where we took a major step back defensively would definitely help us out. I'm really excited about what this defense can bring here in 2024, bringing in guys who can, like you said, not only recruit but produce NFL talent, and that's what we know LSU is known for. So if we can continue on that hype train and bring back defenses of old, where we were known as DBU and we got to the passer and we're allowing less than 20 points a game. I mean, if we can get back to that LSU brand of defense with a beautiful offense that we're expecting, I'm really excited. Speaking about the offense, if you want to check out who we think is going to be our next offensive coordinator for LSU, go ahead and check that out on this channel, The Know on YouTube. Of course, follow on Twitter as well, Be in the Know. You can keep up with this video as well as all the other content produced by the Know Network. I am Bryce.
And I'm Reese.
And this has been Eye on the Tigers, and we will see you next time.